few years ago, I had to get a post office box because a lot of our mail.
Russell Stager is a man afraid.
Seemed to be disappearing when she got home first.
Afraid of his own wife.
Now, here's my question. Why every time I turn around is she running off to the post office box?
The high school football coach puts his fears on tape, just in case. But what kind of monster has her husband running scared? Durham, North Carolina, 1988.
Barbara was kind of like the pillar of the community. She was church-going, Sunday school teacher.
To the outside world, Barbara Stager seems a fine, upstanding woman.
She was very active in her church. She was the first one to show up with a casserole or a cake when someone was ill or if there was a death.
Jo Lynn Snow knew the couple, especially Russell. She was his first wife, and they stayed close.
Russ was so full of life, and he loved kids. He loved coaching. That was his real calling in life, was reaching the kids.
Russell's hasty remarriage comes as a shock.
We were divorced on one day, and he married Barbara the next day. So I was a little surprised that he moved that quickly. But he seemed very happy, and I really hoped it would work out for him.
I'm all right.
Barbara Stager is not who she seems.
Darling, where are we going to get the money for all this?
When you're dealing with public, you never know. They present themselves one way, but they're actually another.
She's a woman with dark secrets. One is her addiction to money.
Barbara's sense of self-worth was very much tied to spending money. Unfortunately, she didn't have that money to spend to make her feel good.
Got a brand new bag. Oh, come on. Russ!
Russell can't control his wife's spending.
She was obtaining loans, and she was lying on the loans. She was forging Russ's signature, and then she was getting one loan to pay off another loan. Then she'd get a loan to pay off that loan, and so on down the road.
Lying and stealing aren't Barbara's only sins. In Russell's fearful tape recording, he describes another vice.
When I was coming back through the parking lot, I saw our other car sitting there in the parking lot just alone by itself. I could see two people in the car. Kind of thought that it was my wife, but I couldn't really see that much, so I got closer to it, and sure enough, she was in the car making out with some guy.
Yeah, what's going on? Who is this guy? What are you doing?
He had found her with another man on the day that her grandmother was to be buried. He was just devastated.
When she turned it around on me, she said it was because I wasn't giving her enough affection.
Barbara loved men. She was having affairs when she was married to Russ.
It was just a parade of men.
Barbara is addicted to sex.
What does appear to be there is a very, very strong, powerful disorder, anxiety disorder, that was only quelled by momentary sexual encounters, orgasm, and spending money.
Barbara has broken 3 commandments, and Russell Steger thinks there might be a 4th: murder.
She had a former husband who died, and he was starting to really wonder about the circumstances of that husband's death.
Larry Ford was accidentally shot dead in his own bed. Barbara was the only witness.
As he turned to leave, he said, "If anything should ever happen to me, will you promise me that you'll look into it?" And I promised him that I would.
It's a promise she'll soon have to keep. Russell Steger's wife, Barbara, is out of control. She has lied to him, stolen from him, and cheated on him.
He was really questioning who this person was. Who was he married to?
Now Russell is finally unraveling her web of lies. And he's desperate to record his fears.
A few years ago, I had to get a post office box because a lot of our mail that was coming to our house, bills and stuff, seemed to be disappearing when she got home first.
He told me that he would find her sometimes in the middle of the night taking the key off of the keychain.
Why every time I turn around is she running off to the post office box unless there's something inside that she wants to hide?
He knew then that she was pilfering through the post office box, so even that wasn't safe.
Barbara is starting to feel the heat.
She was about to be exposed for stealing and spending excessively once again, and she didn't want him to find out.
But how far will she go to keep a secret? Just before dawn on a winter's morning, Barbara is woken by a mysterious noise.
When first officers arrived on the scene, Barbara told them that she had removed a handgun from under Russ's pillar.
What's happened here, ma'am?
And that while she was removing it, it accidentally discharged.
And it just went off. It was just accidental. And I've said to him...
The problem is, it's an accident she's had before.
And then so I got Russell's gun. Well, you know, he keeps it under the pillow, and I just dragged it.
With her first husband, Larry Ford.
And, you know, went off.
When we learned about Larry Ford's death, that sent off a lot of signals, particularly when we learned that he was killed under similar circumstances. Same kind of weapon, at his house, happened in the middle of the night, just like Russ. So that raised all kinds of flags.
It was just accidental.
Something about Russell's shooting just doesn't add
In
up.
the house, because, you know, they're really dangerous and everything.
Russ was an expert in firearms. He was in the National Guard.
You know, sometimes they just go off.
He was an excellent marksman. He was a safety fanatic. I knew that he would have never, ever slept with a gun under his pillow.
The police are also skeptical.
The gun, it had two safeties on it. It has a real small trigger guard. It was not a hair trigger. In order to fire that weapon, you have to intentionally insert your finger in the trigger guard and pull the trigger. I don't think there's any way you could accidentally discharge it.
The chances of a woman losing her husband in her own home to an accidental gunshot wound is extremely remote. That it would happen twice to the same woman is mathematically probably impossible.
Barbara's story is falling to pieces. She's now the prime suspect in a murder. And the evidence is tied together by a voice from beyond the grave.
This is Russell Stager. This is January 29th, 1988, and it's 10 of 2.
That tape was made on a Friday afternoon. He was shot and killed the following Monday morning. But to know that he went into that weekend, his last weekend alive, so afraid for his life, it was overwhelming to hear that.
When I was coming back through the parking lot, I saw our other car.
I don't think she thought she was gonna get caught. Why would she? She got away with it once before.
Barbara Stager claims innocence. A jury finds otherwise. Convicted of murder, she's sentenced to life in prison.
I think we've saved a third man, because I think she would have married again, and she would have reverted back to the same thing, because Barbara is a greedy person. She's all about the dollar.
When the trial ended, I spent a day and I went to all of the places where we had lived. And at that point, I said my goodbye to Russ. I still carry him with me. Sometimes I try to enjoy things 2 times, once for me and once for him.
It's early morning in Selmer, Tennessee. Pastor's wife, Mary Winkler, is taking her daughters on a road trip.
She was taking them to the beach. She had always wanted to take them to the beach. The father, Matthew, had always promised to take them to the beach.
Okay, girls. Who wants to go to the beach, huh? Me! Okay, who wants burgers?
She wanted to take her girls to the beach to enjoy one last day before their lives as they knew them ended.
When the Winkler family is missing from church that night,
Hello, Matthew? Mary?
elders go to their home to find out why.
Everything looks in place. It's quiet. There doesn't seem to be any reason to be concerned.
Matthew? Mary? Matthew?
Until they walk into the marital bedroom.
Matthew? Drew, quick, come in here!
And there they find the body of their preacher laying dead and cold on the floor.
When Sergeant Roger Rickman attended the murder scene that day, he had no idea of the storm that was brewing.
We really wasn't sure what had happened. Mary was not there, the children were not there. We didn't know that, that they had been abducted or what.
Selmer is about to become the center of a case that will divide the country and shake a devoted congregation to its core.
Oh Lord, you have enticed me, and I was enticed. For whenever I speak, I must cry out.
For 2 years, Matthew Winkler has been pulpit minister at the 4th Street Church of Christ.
Matthew came from a line of preachers, his father and grandfather. That's what he did in life. That was his vocation.
Matthew's career means he is always in the spotlight, and so is his wife, Mary.
If you're a preacher or a preacher's wife or a preacher's child in a small town, you're constantly under a microscope.
But away from the eyes of the congregation, Mary is under even more intense scrutiny.
Look, we got French fries. They're really yummy.
Now that's a healthy meal, isn't it?
He expected more of Mary than anyone should expect of a human being.
Yeah, sure you can.
This was a marriage where the husband was in charge and made all the decisions.
Okay.
He would lose his temper. He would belittle her.
How many times do I have to tell you not to buy junk food for the kids?
A little treat every now and then, Matthew. It won't hurt them.
But I don't want them to get fat like you.
He was, I believe, very emotionally abusive.
Criminal profiler Candice DeLong believes years of subservience took their toll on Mary's self-esteem.
We know the effects of ongoing verbal abuse from a husband to a wife has a long-term deleterious effect. It beats the spirit down.
Throw that in the bin.
They begin to believe what the offender is telling them, which is that they're worthless.
Don't talk back to me. That's your ugly coming out in you.
Then one night, Mary receives a mysterious email that seems to offer a chance to prove she's not worthless.
She never could seem to make ends meet, and she saw what she thought was an opportunity. But unfortunately, her solution to financial difficulty was to get involved in what is commonly called a Nigerian scam.
Mary falls prey to an online fraud that sinks the Winklers deep into debt. Her secret plan to prove herself has backfired, and she can't bear to admit her failure to Matthew.
She couldn't find any way to sit down with her husband and say, I screwed up. I'm sorry.
I believe she kind of got in over her head over that, and she didn't want Matthew to find out about it, and I think that's why she done what she done to him.
Dawn on March 22nd, 2006. The last day of Matthew Winkler's life.
That morning, the baby was crying. We knew that Matthew liked to sleep. He kicks her out of the bed, go make the baby shut up. Matthew comes in, pinches the baby's nose, and holds his hand over the baby's mouth.
Matt, stop it! She can't breathe!
Horrified, Mary's protective instinct takes over.
Mary said that he suffocated the baby. That was Mary's choice of words. A momentary squeeze like that I would not call suffocation, but Mary did. And I think that raised up some internal rage.
Mary is seething. She wants to confront Matthew.
I think she was at her wit's end, and now she wasn't the one being punished. Her children were being punished.
But Mary knows her husband won't listen to her. Unless he's not given a choice.
She said that he always said that a shotgun like the one he had would make a hole this big in you. And that made her think that a shotgun would get his attention.
Get up. Get up, Matthew. I want to talk. I want to talk.
A tranquil morning in Selmer, Tennessee.
I do not think that Matthew Winkler spent 1 minute of one day of his life ever thinking that he had anything to fear from Mary Winkler.
Get up. Get up, Matthew. I want to talk.
Pastor's wife, Mary Winkler, has decided to stand up to her husband after years of abuse. What happens next remains in dispute to this day.
We only know what the physical evidence shows us, and we only know what Mary tells us. Mary got the shotgun to get his attention.
Get up. Get up, Matthew. I want to talk.
It's possible when Mary was holding the shotgun on Matthew that she did not intend to kill him, possibly that she was intending to scare him, taking back her own life. It is entirely possible that was her intention. Things didn't work out that way.
She shot Matthew in cold blood while he was sound asleep.
In my opinion, he never got out of the bed. She just come in there in cold-blooded murder and shot him.
But that's not the way Mary's defense team sees the shooting.
There were some pillows on the floor where he had kicked her out of the bed earlier that morning. And I believe that she lost her footing.
Get up, Matthew. I want to talk.
Finger was on the trigger, and it went off unintentionally.
Did she intentionally shoot him? I don't know. I can't say. I don't believe she did. I believe that our theory was that she either lost her balance standing on some pillows that he had kicked off the floor, or she went into some type of catatonic state and shot him and doesn't remember shooting him.
Investigators later find the telephone disconnected.
The telephone had been unplugged from the wall, in my opinion, to keep him from calling 911.
Taking the shotgun, Mary leaves her husband to die.
Then she took her 3 little girls, packed them into their car, and hit the road.
For 2 days, America holds its breath, fearing the worst for Mary and her kids. The search for them ends in Orange Beach, Alabama.
There was no one holding Mary. There was no one threatening her girls. It was just Mary and her 3 little girls at the beach. It was time for Mary to answer for what she'd done.
Just place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand.
Put on trial for her husband's murder, it is Mary who will emerge as the victim.
Mary painted a picture of a horribly victimized woman on the witness stand.
Marriage lasted right at 10 years. I believe it was 10 years of hell.
Mary's defense centers on 3 kinds of abuse she claims to have suffered at the hands of her husband: emotional, physical, and sexual.
She said that Matthew forced her to commit sexual acts that she didn't want to do.
According to author Diane Fanning, many of Mary's claims lacked proof or substance.
I just didn't buy those arguments. To me, to be sexually abused means that someone has to commit a sexual act on you that you don't want, and you've clearly stated you don't want it. And yet, Mary, after her trial, sat there on the Oprah Winfrey Show and said to that woman, "If I ever said no, Matthew stopped right away. In fact, if I ever flinched, Matthew stopped right away."
As proof of physical abuse, Mary points to a black eye she had suffered in previous months.
One time she was playing softball and a ball bounced up and hit her. Well, it hit her in the facial area. She had told us that later on he had jabbed her in that same area.
Have you seen my Mary's eye? Hopefully she learned to keep her eye on the ball.
Actually, I don't believe very much of anything she said in the trial. I think it was all made up, prefabricated, and the jury bought into it.
The jury's verdict will be one of the most controversial in Tennessee history.
They'd kicked out first-degree murder. They even kicked out second-degree murder. They settled on a manslaughter charge, and then the judge pronounced the verdict. He gave her a 3-year sentence, but he made 2 of it on probation. Then he took away the time she served in jail before she got out on bail. And suddenly Mary had a sentence of 61 days remaining to serve. So Mary, who shot her sleeping husband in the back, would serve 2 months in prison, and part of it in a mental health facility, and nothing more. Mary got away with murder.
For defense attorneys Leslie Ballin and Steve Faris, the verdict is a triumph of justice.
It was an outstanding outcome. We took a person who had no voice in the system, and we spoke for her. We gave her what I believe was a good defense, an honest defense, a true defense, and we saved her life.
Today, Mary has custody of her 3 children and has begun a new life.
It's a happy family, certainly one without a father in the house, but she is doing great now, just super.
I describe Mary as a cold, calculated murderer. She premeditated Matthew Winkler's murder, and she followed through with it. I'm actually today still concerned for her kids because, you know, if she could do this to her husband, she could do anything.
America remains divided about Mary Winkler. Is she a battered wife who killed by mistake? Or a cold-hearted murderer who remains dangerous?
Be careful who you fight with. Be careful who you mock and who you try to destroy. because it might just come back to visit you, and it did them.
What pushed this scorned ex-wife to breaking point and beyond? Author Greg Olson has written about dozens of killers. The tale of Betty Broderick captivated him like no other.
What got all of us, and I mean all of Americans really interested in this case, was the idea of this attractive woman who was on the top of the world at one moment, and then when her husband dumped her, she became this caricature of evil and despair. And we all wondered how it got that way.
In the early years of Betty's marriage, there is little to hint at the calamity to come.
Hey, baby.
She was the kind of girl, like probably everybody of her age, who dreamed of being a good wife and mother. That's really all she wanted out of life. She would like to find the right man, and she thought she did when she found Dan Broderick.
How do I look?
Like $1 million.
That's the idea.
Handsome Dan already has a medical degree from Cornell. Now his wife Betty juggles motherhood and part-time work to put him through Harvard Law School.
Can we keep the toys in the basket?
Sorry, huh?
She looked at her job to be the background for Dan. She was the one that worked. She put him through school. So that's what she viewed her job to do, is to make it so he could be successful.
Betty sacrificed a lot supporting Dan, and she just kept waiting for that day, that great day, when all the hard work would be over and they could relax and coast.
10 years later, Betty's hard work has paid off for her husband. While Dan's a high-flying San Diego lawyer, his success hasn't brought happiness to Betty.
Dan was talking to Betty about how she didn't look good anymore. She was losing her looks. He was not coming home. She knew something was going on. He was accusing her of being crazy and of imagining things that weren't there.
Betty is not imagining things.
I think she always knew that he was a player, and she had seen signs of it over the years in their marriage.
Behind her back, Dan has started an affair with his 21-year-old secretary, Linda Colcana. Betty can't believe all her hard work has been repaid with betrayal.
I am your wife.
You're the truth.
Yes, I do.
Old and fat.
I think she knew then that it was over, and she became completely unhinged. There's no question about that.
She put all of his clothes, and he was a dandy. That was his most important possession. She put it on the barbecue, lit the barbecue, burned him up.
Like half of American marriages, this one is headed for divorce. But what will make it end in murder?
It was a collision course. She was going to be dead, or they were.
La Jolla, California, 1985. Betty Broderick's 16-year marriage is history. Her millionaire husband has traded her in for a younger version.
And I think that's the thing that hurt her the most, or the hardest to deal with, is just looking and realizing, okay, she's just being replaced.
Defense attorney Jack Early believes when Betty's marriage ended, her world collapsed.
Her dream was to set up the perfect marriage, to have memories, the photos, the grandchildren. That was Betty's dream, and that was what was taken away from her.
This is only the beginning of Betty's torment.
I was provoked, Your Honor.
In the divorce court, everything that matters to her will be chipped away.
He made over $1 million a year as a malpractice attorney, so he was doing great. And she came away with, I think, a little under $30,000 for 20 years of marriage, and a marriage that was built on her hard work, too.
Kindly refrain from using that.
And Dan will take something even more precious, something crucial to Betty's identity.
Your Honor, I'd like to move that her visitation rights be withheld until she seeks psychiatric treatment.
They batted around custody for quite a while. In the end, Dan did get custody, and I don't know that he really wanted the kids, but he didn't want Betty to have them, and that was part of the game.
Very well. Custody of the children is granted to Mr. Dan Broderick. Case dismissed.
Betty felt that her role was the mother. She wanted to be with those kids. And Dan, to stop Betty from having the kids seemed to be his goal.
Divorce leaves Betty broke and alone. Now Linda rubs salt into her wounds.
The woman who replaced Betty in her husband's bed, Linda, taunted Betty beyond comprehension. Sending her wrinkle cream ads and weight loss material. That was actually turning the knife after it had been plunged into her heart.
5 years after the divorce, another letter arrives. It's the final straw. Betty thinks she'll regain custody of her kids.
She received a letter from Dan. She thought she was going to get her children back.
Like all Betty's other dreams, this one is dashed.
The letter basically was telling her that they were always going to be having her in a vice grip, and she was not going to be able to have a normal life for her with her children back.
No!
That letter, sitting reading it at 3 o'clock in the morning, is, I think, the thing, the drop of water that finally just broke the dam.
Betty lost everything. She lost a beautiful home. She lost a loving family. She lost her position in society. But more than anything, she really lost who she was, what her self was, and I think that killed her.
Betty feels there's only one way out. She enters her ex-husband's house to make a dramatic statement.
She had this idea that she was going to go kill herself in front of her husband, saying, "You've taken everything from me. You've taken my home. You've taken my children. You've taken whoever I was, and I'm going to pay you back big time by killing myself." Right there, and you're going to see it.
In the final moment, Betty's self-pity is overtaken by another emotion. Revenge.
I do not believe she was there to shoot them, but that's what she did.
Linda is killed instantly. Her husband of 6 months, Dan, survives for half an hour before choking on his own blood.
Betty was driven to murder because of uncontrollable rage brought on by being discarded and treated like garbage by the man she loved. She was destroying the people who had destroyed her. It was the only way to end her pain.
Within hours of committing the double murder, Betty surrenders to police.
She was tried twice. The first was a hung jury. 4 people on that jury said there's just no way she should be guilty of that crime, that Dan and Linda caused it to happen by pushing those buttons. And then in the second trial, she was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to prison.
And the judge gave her a sentence of 32 to life, which in effect, under the law at that time, made her eligible for parole for the first time in the year 2010.
Because Betty Broderick refuses to show remorse for her crimes, that parole is denied.
I do feel kind of a unique sympathy for the killer. And I don't usually feel that way about people. I feel that people should pay for their crimes, go away to prison, and we should forget about them. But I think of her, and I think about what has been taken from her and how she reacted, and I think it's cautionary. We all better be careful that, you know, partners in this life that we try to create are equal and valuable, and she wasn't. She was treated like she was nothing.
Some secrets aren't very far from the surface.
She needed the sexual attention of a lot of men to feel good about herself.
Others are deeper.
That is a very cold-blooded individual. To call her a femme fatale would be an understatement.
In the case of Susan Grund.
Susan is a very intelligent, very witty, very lovable person.
You have to decide which secret to believe. In Peru, Indiana,
Hi, Suzanne.
the 1980s will be a whirlwind
You alone?
for the girl they called One Night Stand Sue Ann.
So, how you been?
Yeah, pretty good.
Susan, who was actually born and raised as Sue Ann, had a bit of a racy reputation at high school. She certainly liked the boys, and the boys seemed to like her.
It appears that Susan had a lot of difficulty attaching to one man and staying with him and being faithful to him. Wasn't in her DNA.
At 17, Susan is married to a country singer. But she's already moved on to her next lover.
Gary Campbell, who lived in the same apartment block. And in a quite extraordinary move, she literally took her clothes from one apartment into Gary Campbell's and set up home with him and married him.
True crime author Wensley Clarkson has charted a long line of trouble trailing Susan Grund.
Susan gave birth to Jacob, her first child with Gary Campbell, but unfortunately, she was convicted of child abuse on Jacob, and her husband, Gary Campbell, took custody of the child.
Susan's need, which I believe was to be seen as a sexy woman by a lot of men, overruled her need to be a good wife.
Susan moves to a new town, and husband number 3. She becomes pregnant again, but the marriage doesn't last long enough for the birth.
So what does she do? She hotfoots it back to Peru, pregnant with a second child.
At 25 and pregnant, Susan meets husband number 4, Jimmy Grund.
Once again, Susan bewitched a man. It's quite extraordinary, this. She's pregnant, she goes on a blind date with Jimmy Grund, and soon after that, they fall in love and get married.
Susan must have thought the skies had opened for her when she met Jimmy Grund. He was educated, he had money, he had prestige. He was way out of her league. And yet, he was drawn to her.
Against the odds, Susan becomes a big name in her hometown.
Jim and Susan played a role in, I guess, high Peru society, if there is one. It's a very small town, but they were the upper crust.
J.W. Lee befriended Susan years later. He says she enjoyed the marriage.
They had a lot of good times together. She's relayed a lot of fond memories of her marriage to Jim with me, and it seemed like they had a pretty good one.
But the town is starting to talk. Perhaps one-night stand Sue Ann might not have disappeared completely.
Not long after marrying Jimmy, there were rumors beginning to circulate in Peru about her having affairs with other men.
Susan seems to be keeping secrets again. But this time, it will end in murder.
Was he so bewitched by her that he didn't question any of her behavior?
Little Sue Ann has transformed herself.
Yeah, pretty good.
From poor trailer trash to Susan Grund, wealthy, influential wife of a prominent attorney. But it's about to collapse around her.
There were many facets to Susan's personality. One of them was to be the sexy, desirable woman. And the other was to be the socialite, prestigious wife married to a successful man. They didn't mix.
So this is the gun?
Wow.
One rumor has Susan sleeping with her stepson, David Grund.
So how do you use it?
Safety? Off?
There were plenty who doubted and plenty who knew that it was true.
Do you have to cock it before you use it?
I didn't have to cock this one. It's ready to go, ready to shoot.
David totally denied ever having had relations with her, which is to be expected. But enough people in the town knew what was going on.
There's one thing on which everyone agrees.
Aim with this. Aim this at your target. Arms straight.
David owns a 9mm handgun.
Perfect.
It was rumored that Susan had many affairs. I heard things from my family, and nobody was fond of her in my family.
Kama Grund, Jimmy's niece, is just a child when her uncle's marriage starts to fall apart.
Speculation of the family is that he told her he wanted a divorce.
Susan's behavior finally pushes Jimmy too far.
What do you think?
And he started to question a lot of aspects of her character finally, and then started to push for a divorce.
How dare you!
You dare me to do what?
I'll get half of everything.
You're not gonna get a cent.
And then, something extraordinary happens.
The local police got a call from Susan saying she'd found her husband shot sitting on a sofa and the house was ransacked, and obviously someone had broken in and decided to shoot Jimmy Grund.
The Grund family don't believe it's robbery. They think it's cold-blooded murder.
Something didn't add up about this so-called break-in. The police themselves were mystified because it's so rare that a break-in results in a shooting.
There's just one clue, implicating Jimmy's son, David.
Jimmy Grund was shot with a 9mm pistol, and by an extraordinary coincidence, his own son owned a 9mm pistol, which he'd reported stolen just a week earlier.
Police can't find the murder weapon because Susan hides it.
The reason that Susan picked up the gun at all and hid the murder weapon was because she knew that it was Jim's son's gun. Susan was trying to protect him.
The Grunds think Susan is protecting herself after staging a robbery to collect $250,000 in life insurance.
The police worked incredibly hard on this case because they knew virtually from the beginning that Susan had to be the guilty party.
Susan confides in her sister and her mother, who help hide the murder weapon. But their secrecy lasts only a few months.
Eventually, Susan's sister cracked. She couldn't cope with the knowledge of knowing what her sister had done.
They arrested Susan in November, almost exactly 3 months from the date of Jim's death. Charged her with murder.
At the trial, Susan claims innocence, but admits to hiding the gun to protect her lover, Jimmy's son, David.
Susan claimed that David had decided that the only way to get rid of Jimmy so that they could be together was to murder his father. David Grund denied categorically that this so-called affair had ever occurred with Susan, and he was charged as an accessory but then acquitted.
It was very well known that David had an alibi and had nothing to do with his father's death.
But the jury is left in doubt and deadlocked. It takes a second trial in March 1994 to convict Susan Grund of murder. She's serving 60 years in prison.
Despite all her planning, all her scheming, all her connivingness, all her artfulness, Susan Grund got sentenced to life.
Susan's fiancé, J.W. Lee, believes justice was not served.
Susan is innocent of murder. Susan will be eligible for parole in 2019. When she comes home from prison, it'll be a whole brand new life for her.
For some, Susan's release will right a terrible wrong. Others believe she should stay where she belongs.
I think that Jimmy Grund was a means to an end for Susan Grund. When she found that he was about to pull that away from her, she found herself with no choice but to murder him.
Everybody knew that she had done it.
Morgantown, West Virginia, 2005. Former star cheerleader Michelle Michael loves being the center of attention.
Michelle Michael is a very narcissistic person. For the narcissist, life is all about them and how do they look to the outside world. Everything had to be perfect, but it wasn't.
Claire, that wheel needs to go along that line. That was Dilly Ride.
28-year-old Michelle is married, but she's looking for a new man. She wants a richer one.
Michelle Michael's standard of morals was very lax. She slept with a lot of people during her life.
At the hospital where she works as a nurse, Michelle has her sights fixed on a handsome young doctor.
Give me a J. Give me an I. Give me an M. Give me an M. Give me a Y.
Jimmy Michael.
Jimmy!
Jimmy was a good guy. He was definitely one of the good guys. Always looking out for someone else. Always wanting to help.
But it's not just Jimmy's charm and good looks that Michelle is attracted to.
She was attracted to his ability to make money.
With Jimmy on her arm, Michelle knows she'll be the envy of Morgantown.
So, do you play football yourself?
And for Jimmy, Michelle is his dream come true.
I thought so. You have a very good physique.
Jimmy had a thing for cheerleaders, and Michelle Michael was probably his perfect girl.
So what do I need to do to get another cheer?
Well, you need to do something to earn it.
And what might that be?
I'm sure you can do something.
Michelle knows how to get what she wants.
Sure, I think of something.
And it doesn't take her long.
Pretty soon, there was a lot of rumors going on around the hospital that they were having some kind of affair.
Michelle dumps her husband and begins her new life with Jimmy.
Michelle and Jimmy get married. He's doing well financially. They buy the dream house. Michelle starts to decorate it, get it just the way she wants, that whole image thing. Image was everything to Michelle.
Michelle and Jimmy look like the perfect married couple for now.
Hello, Philippa.
After they'd been married a couple of years, Jimmy decided he wanted to start his own business.
Jimmy leaves his job at the hospital to open a private practice.
Well, your eyes are sparkling.
It's something he's wanted to do for years, and he puts his all into the new venture.
And I'll see you tomorrow.
But according to author John Glatt, Michelle wasn't so enthusiastic.
He wasn't making the money that he was making before because he was kind of growing the business. And Michelle became very unhappy about that.
Well, look, he's not the most skilled kid on the park.
And it's not just the money. With Jimmy focused on his new business, Michelle is no longer the center of attention.
What's that you're drinking there, Bob? Scotch. Scotch? In a Jim Beam glass.
It's a man. He's Scotch.
So you guys had it.
And she shows her unhappiness by openly flirting in front of him.
He had talked to me about trying to get Shelley to go to church with him and rededicate herself to the marriage. I don't think things were working out that way.
Michelle is out of control. As soon as Jimmy's back is turned, she starts an affair with one of his employees. And she does it in their marital bed.
I think he had tried.
Close friend Reggie Hours says Jimmy had no idea why his marriage was failing.
He could honestly say he had tried to make things work.
One day, he learns the truth.
Jimmy was tipped off to Michelle's affair by someone sending an anonymous note.
They put it in her mailbox saying, "Keep your whore off my husband."
Oh, get out. I'm getting changed.
You've been shopping again.
Yes.
We can't afford this crap.
Well, you've got your own business, and I can't afford to buy new underwear.
Who are you buying this stuff for anyway?
Get out.
It's not for me. We haven't had sex in months. Are you cheating on me?
No.
Are you cheating on me?
Get out.
This marriage is over.
But there's no way Michelle is going to let Jimmy leave her. She knows the community would side with him, and her image would be left in tatters.
She wanted out, but she wanted sympathy on the way. She didn't want the wrath or the disdain of the community for leaving such a nice guy.
Michelle sees a different way to end the marriage. One that lets her walk away with all the sympathy she desires. Michelle Michael is a nurse who cares about herself.
She's got to be the coldest, cruelest person I've ever met in my life.
It takes a murderer to kill a man. It takes a monster to make him suffer.
In her role as a nurse, Michelle had access to and knowledge of a variety of drugs that could be used to save lives.
Michelle steals a drug called rocuronium. She knows exactly what one prick of this needle will do.
Once you give that drug, you paralyze every muscle in your body. And your diaphragm's a muscle that controls your breathing. So the diaphragm stops working, you stop breathing. You could still see him, you still know what's going on around you, but you can't move, you can't breathe, you can't talk, and you lay there and suffocate.
Bye-bye, sweetheart. Pleasant dreams.
It really is like being buried alive, struggling to breathe, knowing that you need assistance and aren't going to get it, but you are awake and aware of what's happening.
Michelle knows it will take more than 10 minutes for Jimmy to die.
And you can imagine how slow those minutes were.
Michelle leaves her husband to suffer a slow, lonely, and agonizing death.
She shut the door and went off to work to create an alibi.
When Shelley got to work, she seemed to be making a big point out of letting people know that she was there.
Her alibi established, Michelle puts the next stage of her plan into action.
She leaves work, gets in her car, drives home, and sets the house on fire, goes back to work, and waits.
Michelle tries to act normal as she waits anxiously for the fire department to call.
About 10:30, there's a call that her house is on fire
And she makes a big scene and she screams, my husband, and she drives off to the house, which is already burning.
Michelle arrives home to a dramatic scene, ready to play her part.
I live here. Where's my husband?
But she doesn't quite pull it off. Witnesses are confused by her behavior.
Her reactions and just her general demeanor were unusual and odd to them and did not portray a sense of loss and distress that you would normally expect.
And inside, fire investigators are also confused. Something's not right.
The body was in a strange position. It was like a little baby, like it had gone to sleep. It wasn't like he'd fought his way out or tried to fight his way out of a fire, which made people suspicious.
How can he not get out of a bedroom? How can he not move 10 feet to get out of a fire?
Jimmy's body is burned beyond recognition. Amazingly, an autopsy can still be carried out. A few days later, the horrifying truth is revealed.
Jim Michael was dead before the fire started because there was no soot in his lungs. There was nothing in his airways that would have shown that he was breathing in smoke.
Forensic examiners don't find smoke, but they do find a smoking gun. Rock uranium.
Jimmy's dad had called me up. He had gotten a copy of the autopsy report. He said, what is rock uranium? My heart sank. How do you tell a parent, someone that loved their kid as much as they did, that their son was paralyzed and laid there and suffocated?
Michelle Michael is now the prime suspect. Police know she has access to rock uranium. And they have security camera footage of her leaving the hospital to set the fire.
I never left the hospital grounds.
Well, that's not what your neighbor says.
Michelle denies everything.
We have an eyewitness who saw you leave the house and drive away. You're gonna tell me she's lying like the security cameras?
She must be. I never left the hospital grounds.
But there's enough evidence to make an arrest. And after a long trial, Michelle Michael is convicted of first-degree murder.
Many people have asked about this case. How can a person have done what she did? How could anyone plan to kill their spouse and carry it out in that cold-blooded way?
Something's missing in her. You know, she's not like a normal person.
It's just evil. There's no other way to put it. It's just pure evil.
Michelle Michael is sentenced to life. She maintains her innocence and is appealing her sentence. But Jimmy's friend Reggie is determined she'll never be released.
I still miss him. Still miss him. God willing, I'll be alive and I can go to her appeals and tell them the things that I know and tell them how cruel she was, and hopefully they'll deny every one of them.
For Michelle Michael, narcissist extraordinaire, life was all about her. She's got a lot of time to think about that now.